Hotels and motels, places of comfort and convenience, where weary travelers rest their heads. Yet, these establishments have hidden corners that most guests are blissfully unaware of. From secret rooms used to accommodate overbooked guests to corridors shrouded in mystery raising questions about possible trafficking, the hospitality industry has secrets of its own. Economy-priced hotels have been known to unintentionally host shadowy transactions of drug dealers, taking advantage of the anonymity these places offer. But that's not all. Even the inviting shimmering waters of hotel swimming pools can harbor potential health risks. If you thought this is where it ends, you're mistaken. These places can unknowingly become a refuge for domestic violence, a breeding ground for bedbugs, and even a temporary home for homeless families. And yes, you may have spent a night in a room where someone breathed their last. Do you feel a chill? Well, this is just the beginning. There's one secret that's even more chilling, and you'll find out soon enough. What's up, my amazing and curious folks? Are you ready to dive into secrets hidden in plain sight? I am your host, Cesar Chagas, and here with me is the insightful Sonia.
Hey there, wonderful people. Ready to go on another journey of discovery with us?
Absolutely, Sonia. And folks, don't forget to subscribe to the Curiosity Wonderland and hit that bell icon so you never miss an episode. Because here, we unravel mysteries together, one episode at a time. Let's get started, shall we? Hotels. They are necessary, aren't they? Sanctuaries for the weary, a home away from home, and a place of respite for travelers. But peel back the curtain and you might find secrets hidden in plain sight. Take secret rooms for instance. Now, before your imagination runs wild with images straight out of a thriller movie, these rooms aren't typically used for nefarious purposes. They're usually there to accommodate extra guests when the hotel is overbooked or to host someone special. But on occasion, something a little more mysterious surfaces. There's this case where a guest in a New York hotel claimed to have discovered a suspicious passage by knocking through the back of their wardrobe. This led to wild speculations of it being used for human trafficking or other dark activities. But the truth? Hard to tell. It could be just a poorly done renovation. Yet, it leaves us with an uneasy question: what's really lurking behind these closed doors? Here's another shocker. Ever stayed at an economy-priced hotel or motel? Drug dealers see these places as convenient spots to conduct their business. No commitments, no suspicious glances at the comings and goings. A disturbing reality but true. What do you think? Continuing along this shadowy path, not all hotel guests are quite as innocent as they seem. In fact, some may have more nefarious intentions. Take the drug dealers we talked about. They often bully low-cost hotels into turning a blind eye to their activities, taking advantage of the management's limited resources to fight back. Disturbing, isn't it? And speaking of disturbing, let's talk swimming pools. We've all enjoyed a good dip in the hotel pool after a long day of sightseeing, right? But are these pools as pristine as they seem? The CDC conducted a study from the year 2000 to 2014 and found that 1 in 3 water-related disease outbreaks were linked to hotel swimming pools.
Seriously? That's quite alarming.
Indeed. But before you swear off hotel pools forever, remember, not all of them are unsafe. The CDC suggests that you can protect yourself by checking the water clarity before plunging in. Water free of discolorations, contaminants, or particles is usually a good sign. Shifting gears, there's an even darker side to hotels we need to address. They can be hotspots for domestic violence. Predators often use hotels as a secluded space to harm their victims, far from prying eyes.
That's horrifying. Hotels should be a place of safety and relaxation, not a haven for such terrible acts. How can this be addressed?
That's a complex question. It calls for awareness, vigilance, and a collective commitment to creating safe environments. But that's a discussion for another day. For now, let's delve further into the lesser-known aspects of the hotel world. Continuing with this dark narrative, let's talk about bed bugs.
Oh, just the thought of them makes my skin crawl.
And rightly so. These critters, evolved to feed on our blood undetected, can hitch a ride in your luggage and infest your home. You'd think that with such a public health concern, there'd be stringent laws in place for hotels. But the reality is, regulations on bed bugs are extremely limited. Take the United States for example. Out of all the states, only 21 have laws concerning bed bugs. There are no federal regulations whatsoever in context. This lack of legal structure leaves it up to the hotels to maintain their reputation by dealing with bed bugs effectively and conscientiously.
That's very unsettling, especially considering how prevalent travel is.
Indeed. And another issue prevalent in hotels: prostitution. Now, while some may be independent sex workers, there's also a grim reality of human trafficking intertwined with it.
It's a truly haunting picture you're painting. These are realities we don't often think about, yet they exist. It makes you wonder, what can be done to improve these situations?
A valid question, and one that requires a multifaceted approach. But that's a discussion for a different day. Let's move on to our next point. Expanding on the topic of prostitution and trafficking in hotels, a large part of the problem is that hotel staff often lack the training to recognize and respond to potential signs of these crimes. Insufficient pay and lack of training leave many workers ill-equipped to identify such activities, let alone know how to react. Some experts argue that combating sex trafficking begins with educating hotel employees to spot potential indicators and understand the appropriate course of action. But the impetus for this change needs to come from higher up, the major hotel chains themselves. Moving on to another sobering reality: homelessness. It's heartbreaking to see families with children resorting to living in hotels or cheap motels. One might think that renting an apartment would be more cost-effective, but the upfront costs can be prohibitive. Between first month's rent, security deposits, and application fees, these families are often unable to break free from the cycle. They end up trapped in these temporary accommodations, unable to save enough to secure a more stable living situation. And this is not a problem exclusive to the United States. The United Kingdom faces a similar issue. And speaking of hotel rooms, there's a chance that you might rent a room where someone has died. Yes, you heard that right. Be it due to natural causes like a heart attack, an overdose, or even suicide, deaths in hotels are not as uncommon as you might think.
These are hard truths, but it's essential to bring these issues to light. Greater awareness can lead to change, after all. It's important that we continue to explore and understand these lesser-known aspects of the hotel industry.
After a death in a hotel room, it is simply cleaned and prepared for the next guest. While it might be unsettling, hotels aren't obligated to disclose if someone died in the room you're staying in. There might be a few telltale signs, like brownish splatter stains or recent wallpaper changes in just part of the room, but these would only suggest a violent death. And speaking of deaths in hotels, it's worth noting that, tragically, these spaces often serve as locations for people to take their own lives. The isolation, anonymity, and transient nature of hotels can make them appealing to those contemplating suicide. It's a grim reality, and while exact statistics are hard to come by, a study in King County, Washington, between 2002 and 2004 reported 223 suicides per 100,000 at hotels and motels. That's a significantly higher rate than the rest of the state. And to end on a particularly distressing note, it's necessary to mention that in some cases, hotel owners themselves have been found complicit in human trafficking. From Scranton, Pennsylvania to Philadelphia, there have been instances where hotel owners have been sentenced for their involvement in these crimes.
It's a sobering reminder that while hotels can represent comfort and solitude to many, they can also be a setting for some deeply disturbing events. We can hope that shedding light on these issues can lead to better regulation, training, and awareness to prevent such situations in the future.
Absolutely, and that's why we're having these discussions. To raise awareness and hopefully spark a change. Let's continue. The cases we've discussed highlight the sad fact that some hotel owners knowingly profit from the suffering inflicted by human traffickers, often for years before they're held accountable. For example, in Northeast Philadelphia, a hotel owner was ordered to pay $24 million in damages to 8 underage victims who had been abused at his hotel for 3 years. Despite the lack of criminal conviction, the substantial settlement suggests the owner was aware of the ongoing abuse but chose to turn a blind eye for the sake of profit.
It's a horrific thought, and it really underscores the need for more stringent oversight of these establishments.
Indeed. Many hotels are individually owned and answer only to infrequent franchise inspections, allowing this kind of exploitation to persist unchecked. It's a sobering reality, and it's vital that we continue to highlight these issues and push for change within the industry. As we've explored today, hotels, places of respite for some, can unfortunately become sites of exploitation and tragedy for others. We hope that by bringing these realities to light, we can contribute to the broader conversation about making these spaces safer and more accountable.
Absolutely. It's a complex issue with many facets, but acknowledging the problem is the first step towards rectifying it. We'll continue to dig deep into these topics, shedding light on the shadowy corners of everyday places. We encourage all our listeners to stay informed, stay curious, and most importantly, stay safe.
In today's episode, we've uncovered some truly unsettling truths about the hotel industry. We've learned that these places, where we seek rest and relaxation, can be host to a litany of dark secrets. From secret rooms raising concerns about human trafficking, to drug dealing, disease-ridden pools, and even horrific domestic violence incidents, these establishments often hide a darker reality behind their polished facades. We've also touched on the pressing issue of bed bug infestations and the lack of federal regulations addressing them. Moreover, we discussed the sad fact that hotels can become temporary homes for homeless families, and the psychological impact this can have. And if that wasn't enough, we dived into the chilling statistics about suicides in hotels, and the horrifying instances of hotel owners being complicit in human trafficking. It's almost like we've been checking into a mystery novel, only this one doesn't have a feel-good ending.
And that's why it's so important to shed light on these issues. The more we know, the more we can push for change. If you found today's episode eye-opening, please hit that like button and share your thoughts with us in the comments. We would also appreciate it if you could share this episode with your friends. You never know, it might just make a difference.
Indeed. Remember, knowledge is power. We'll be back with more deep dives and revealing discussions. Until then, thank you for tuning into Curiosity Wonderland.
And remember, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, everyone. The insights shared today were unearthed from an article titled 10 Dark Secrets of Hotels and Motels, written by Gregory Myers, and published on October 29, 2023 on Listverse. The link to the full article can be found in the description below if you'd like to explore further. And with that, I'm signing off.